Welcome everybody. I'm just so excited to be with all of you here today and to be sharing this introduction to the Client Cultivator Blueprint. And it's taken me a good couple of months to pull this together and to create this blueprint, which is really about defining your client's journey from the starting point, which is starting with you, all the way through to connecting with that client, building trust with them, creating really deep personal relationships with them, what I call love strategies, and then converting them into lifelong clients, onboarding them in an incredible way into your community, continuing to collaborate with them so that they stay in your ecosystem and they never ever want to go anywhere else. And this comes out of over 200,000 interactions with entrepreneurs globally, finding out what's working for them, research in over 50 countries, and has really culminated in this Client Cultivator Blueprint that is which is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So I'm just going to hop over into our presentation and get our tech sorted out here. And I'm really, really excited to welcome you to this introductory webinar. We're going to be going at a very high level through the Client Cultivator Blueprint, but then also deep diving into the first step in the Client Cultivator Blueprint. And I'm going to be running a number of webinars that are going to unpack this in great detail. And hopefully you are going to be able to take some of these insights and apply them in your business today. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder and CEO of the Alchemy Academy, and I am the developer of the Entrepreneur Flow Code and Business Brilliance programs that are specifically designed for entrepreneurs and coaches like yourselves so that you can make the impact that you dreamed of when you started your business. I've got over 26, I actually need to update that because I've just had a birthday, 27 years of experience in the field of personal and professional development. I part-time lecture at the UCT Graduate School of Business, and my clients range from bigger clients such as Standard Bank all the way down to or up to solopreneurs, entrepreneurs that have smaller businesses, which is really, really what I'm passionate about, and really passionate about making my difference in that space. And I've been blessed and privileged enough to speak on international platforms and to take my coaching business global. And you'll see there's a number of badges down here. And the Circle of Excellence, I'm just going to touch on two of them, and the Worldwide Business Intelligence are two communities that I'm a part of that allow me access to the kind of research and business intelligence that I'm going to be sharing with you today. It's about 220 global professionals, leaders in the entrepreneur space, and through this community I'm able to access incredible business intelligence that I share with my clients and that I apply in my own business. And what this Client Cultivator Blueprint really comes out of is that it's coming out of this business intelligence via the Circle of Excellence and the Worldwide Business Intelligence, but also from me taking these business strategies and applying them in my business. And these business strategies, these sales strategies have been an absolute game changer in my business. I had one of my best years last year. I was able to travel overseas and go and see my children and my grandchildren. I was able to purchase a home. And most importantly for me as an entrepreneur, I was actually able to take a break over the December and January periods because I had stability of cash and client flow coming through my business based on these principles that I'm going to be sharing with you. So just to give you a very brief overview of these steps in the Client Cultivator Blueprint. And then we're going to be diving into this first step, clarity, and touching a little bit on Canvas today, is that this is really a 7-step process that is the foundation for my Sales Brilliance Bootcamp program, where we unpack and we deep dive into these different elements. So we start at the top with clarity, and this is all about you. It's about your message, your values, where you're coming from, your energy. And this is a very powerful area of personal development that we're going to dive in today. Then we're moving on to canvassing. Where are your clients hanging out? How do you find them? What is the best time to connect with them? How do you begin and start those important conversations? And canvas and start to build a powerful leads list of your ideal clients. Then we look at connecting with them. And this is trust building strategies. How do you build a foundation of trust? How do you add value, make those connections so that they can start to trust you and see you as an expert in your field, as well as being the person that they want to do business with, and that your expertise speaks directly to the challenges or the problems that they are facing. Then we deep dive into cultivate, and this is my favorite part of the journey, because this is really where we start to share love strategies with our clients. We get them to feel that they really, really matter from us from an authentic place. We care about them, and we help them to solve problems in their businesses. We help them to think strategically and differently about the challenges that they are facing. And we encourage them to fall in love with our brand, to fall in love with our offering. And through these two processes of connection and cultivation, we are overcoming objections in this process, and we are also answering any questions that they may have. So at the end of this process, when we move into the conversion stage, when we're actually wanting to start to pitch and start to sell to them, we are walking into a very, very warm, connected environment. They trust us. We've already helped them significantly to solve their problems. And in a way, they are asking us, how can they do business with us? And then we move on to collaboration. And this is an ongoing problem-solving energy that we bring to our clients. We collaborate with them on an ongoing basis. We onboard them in a spectacular fashion into our ecosystem. And then we build this powerful community that gives them a deep sense of belonging and personal human touch. Because in this world that we are living in this online world, in this digital world that we are living in, we are all needing and craving that human touch. And so the outcomes that we have, if you look at this blueprint, is we have relationships, we have trust, we have love, and out of that, we have loyalty. And so this is the Client Cultivator Blueprint that is ultimately, in generic terms, a sales funnel. But I would like us to think about replacing the word sales with the word relationship. And so we enter into our client journey with a very, very different mindset. We're not chasing the sale. We're wanting to build relationships. We're wanting to make an impact, build that trust, build that love, and ultimately gain that client loyalty so that they stay in our ecosystem and they never want to go anywhere else. And in this environment that we are operating in at the moment, our potential clients are highly, highly sensitive to being sold to. We are overwhelmed. Nearly 85% of all emails are spam emails. 36% of these emails are advertising. Do you want to buy this? Are you hungry right now? We just bombarded by this information. And, I had this experience yesterday where somebody pinged me on LinkedIn. They wanted to connect. I connected with them. Before they'd even introduced themselves, they just sent me this whole spam of, this is what I do, this is how I can help you, and please go to my costing page and my package page. And I was like, wow, please come on my Client Cultivator Blueprint, because we don't want to be sold to. If you look at your email, you know, the emails that are arriving in your inbox every day, they're sucking up so much of our time and so much of our energy that it's actually costing businesses $25 million a year. And trust is becoming such an important element of this. On these stats, as many as 85% of organizations have been targeted by phishing scams in 2021. So, you know, for us to receive a cold email or a cold message into, you know, LinkedIn or on Instagram or on any of the digital platforms that we are on is such a big energy drain and turn off, and not what we are looking for. So this is what we are up against in our sales funnel or in our sales journey, where our ideal clients are feeling much like this chap over here who, you know, really doesn't want to hear one more thing about what we can offer and how we're going to save him time and money. Now, what got me really excited about this is that I used to be, when I sold for Nashua, I used to be the top salesperson month on month. And there the landscape of sales was so different. You know, we picked up a phone, the person on the other end wanted to meet us. They were interested in what we wanted to do, what we wanted to tell them, what we wanted to share with them. And here today, it's very, very different. So I'm very, very excited to have you all on this call. Please feel free to take any notes, and if you want to take a screenshot, please feel free to do that. I really want you to walk away with some value from this webinar and some insights that you can go and apply right now into your business. So the very first element that we want to jump into is I want to jump into clarity. Because if we don't have clarity for ourselves as the person who's leading ourselves, as the person who's leading our business, and as the person that is ultimately going to be engaging and leading our potential clients on this journey, we are going to struggle. And this is the area that I really focus on in terms of our own personal development as leaders. So as leaders, we need to be focusing on our own personal development on an ongoing basis so that we are continuously growing and we are expanding into bigger areas of ourselves. And so the first element of clarity, and for some of you that have been on my other webinars, you know that I always talk about crafting our core values. And our core values are different from our general values in terms of our core values are the emotions that we want to be experiencing on a daily basis, because our emotions impact on our energy. Our emotions impact on our ability to perform. I've got a whole piece of work where I speak about the role of the heart in human performance that comes out of the Heart Math Institute. So if we're not taking care of ourselves from an emotional perspective, if we don't know the experiences we want to be having on a day-to-day basis, then our decision-making is going to be driven at an unconscious level. And this is not necessarily always in our best benefit to be making decisions unconsciously. So the first thing that I like to talk about here in terms of our values is clarity in terms of what are the emotions that you want to be experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So if I've got a high value on family and relationships, then my core value is going to be love. It could be connection. It could be a sense of belonging. And you'll see here in the circle, in these arrows, these are my core values. My second value is freedom. I love to travel. I love to experience new things. I love to meet new people. Energy is a very high core value for me. I want to bring my A game every day. I take care of my health as a general value so that my core value of energy can be met. making a difference, contributing is a very, very high value for me. You know, when I was 10 years old, I wanted to be a nurse. Now I'm a coach. So it's evolved over the years. And prosperity is a core value for me, not only in terms of financial prosperity, but in terms of spaciousness, in terms of designing my business around my lifestyle, so that there is a spaciousness and a prosperity of time. There's a prosperity of relationships. So please may I ask just whoever's not muted, if you could just mute while I'm doing the presentation, and we will have questions afterwards. Thank you. And the second element of this craft model is our rules of engagement. So anytime that we need to make a decision, which is why this compass is here, if we need to make a decision, if we need to make a choice about what client we want to work with, how we want to live, we have these rules of engagement. And so anytime I am wanting to onboard a new client, I'm going to be asking myself, can I love this client and the brand that they stand for? Is there freedom in the way that we can engage? Can we work online and in person? Is there energy? Do they have enough energy to transform and to make change? Is there going to be an energy exchange? Is our energy aligned? Am I going to be able to contribute to their growth? And are we both going to be able to experience prosperity through this engagement? So if I've got a high value on health and energy, then and a client comes to me and all they are interested in is the bottom line, and maybe their product is damaging to the environment, then I'm going to check that against my value system, and it's going to bump up against the rules that I have in place, and I'm probably going to choose not to work with that client. So we take actions that are in alignment with these core values of ours. And when we take action that is in alignment with our core values, we feel good about ourselves. We feel integrous. We feel that we are living in alignment with what really, really matters to us. And we start to feel more and more of these positive, empowering emotions that help us to navigate this radical journey of entrepreneurship, because it is a radical, challenging, powerful journey that we've all chosen to go on, being entrepreneurs. And the final element of these crafting these core values is trust. Because when you live in alignment with these core values, when you communicate out into the world from this place of your core values, you build a sense of trust in yourself. You build a sense of trusting of who you are in this world. But on the other side of that, your clients experience trust of you. They know that they can count on you for this love, for this energy, for this contribution, for whatever it is that you stand for. So I wanted to just bring this in today for you to think about, what are your core values? What is important to you and what really matters? And how do you communicate that out into the world so that your clients start to see who you are at a very, very truthful and authentic level? Here, I want to introduce you to the Entrepreneur Recode, which is another element in this clarity section. And why I bring this up here is because we all have red flags. We all have blind spots in terms of our personal development. And we all have a story that we tell. And for many, many of us, we keep needing to refine our story. We keep needing to create a more empowering context for our lives, for the world that we are living in. If we look at this insane, crazy world that we are living in, it's very, very easy for us to feel despondent. It's very, very easy for us to go down a slippery slope of not thinking that what we do and who we are really matters, or that can we as people really make the difference that we want to make. And the reason why I bring this in here is because just making a shift within yourself has an impact on the world. We don't necessarily have to go out and make these big, massive impact out there. Far more powerful is to just create these small shifts in terms of our own consciousness. And because we are all connected, this feeds into the field that we are all part of, the energy field that we are all part of, and starts to make a difference at that level. And so I'm going to just speak you through this entrepreneur Recode, and we start up here at the Recode section, and that is where our imprints are. Now, for all of us, every event that has happened to us that has had impact on us has left an imprint on us. They are almost like the tattoos that sit in our unconscious, that form the foundation of our psychology. So I'm just going to be very open with you here, and I'm going to share some of my imprints and blind spots and how this has impacted on my life up until now. And hopefully that'll give you some insights into yourselves and how you can reframe them. So I swam very, very competitively when I was young. I was pushed by my dad. It was one of the ways that he loved me, was to continuously push me to be my best. And so out of those ongoing experiences, I developed this imprint of competition, which sits right up there at the top of the Recode section. And so out of this decision that I made from all of these events, that life is a competition and that I always need to be competing, this imprint was formulated. And this goes underground into our unconscious, and it becomes a blind spot. And of course, if I'm always coming from a place of competition, of a place of wondering whether I'm good enough, then my blind spot was always about insecurity. So I had this blind spot of always feeling insecure, of always having to prove myself. And this sits in our unconscious. And very often what happens with our blind spots is that the indicator that we have a blind spot is whenever you are having your buttons pushed, or you are seeing something in another person that you're noticing that you're not seeing in yourself. That is a blind spot, because you wouldn't be able to see it in the other person if you didn't have it in yourself. So these, when we're having a reaction to something, that is an indicator that we have a blind spot sitting there. And then what happens is these become and form the undercurrents of our life. It becomes an undercurrent. So whether it's an undercurrent of sadness that you have, whether it's an undercurrent of frustration or disappointment or despair or shame, these elements that we have sitting in place here become almost like the foundation. It's the river that flows through our unconscious. And so for me, it was often a sense of shame, of not being good enough, of just being me was never enough. I always had to be doing something in order to be enough. And out of that, we create this tunneling. And if you think about viewing life through a lens or a telescope, like this little tunnel that you are viewing life through, that is what this tunneling, that is the result of these imprints, our blind spots, and our undercurrent. And so if I'm always coming from a place of competition, then there's always scarcity. I'm going to be coming from a scarcity mindset. If I've got to compete for something, it means that there's not enough to go around. And so I used to see the world through the scarcity mindset. Now, I'm sure you can see that has an impact on the context that I hold everything in. It had an impact on the way that I felt about myself. If I was winning, there was always somebody losing, which didn't sit well with me. And obviously, if I was losing, that didn't sit well with me either. So it's a complete lose-lose situation. So have a look at this and see what are some of the imprints that have been left on you from the events that you've been through. You know, you might be creating an amazingly successful business, but have imposter syndrome at the moment. What is that imprint about? What is the blind spot? What is the undercurrent? and what is the tunneling that's coming out of that. And so when we drop this and we cross over into telling a new story, when we recode these imprints and we make a new meaning out of those events that happen, we can make a new meaning out of any moment at any point in time. And when we recode that, so I'm so grateful that I had that experience, because what that allows me to bring now is I don't bring competition, but I bring excellence. I try and do my best in every single thing that I do. And so I've recoded that. Instead of looking at the world from a place of insecurity, coming from a place of knowing that I am enough. I know that I'm enough. My undercurrent is one of compassion and love for myself. And my view that I have for the world now is a broad view, that everything that happens to me comes from the space of love and is here to teach me something in order for me to grow. And so when we access this through our mental power, through a recode, or through reframing the events that have happened or are busy happening to us, when we take care of, when we use our physical power and we create enough energy to have the courage to look at these blind spots and shine the lights on them, because the minute we shine a light on a blind spot, it's no longer a blind spot. We can work with it. When we use our emotional power to redirect our energy into the emotions that we want to feel more of, like love and compassion, and we use our spiritual power to create a massive reframe and context for our lives. And when I talk about spiritual power here, I'm not talking about a particular religion. I'm not talking about a particular spiritual path. What I'm talking about here is feeding your spirit through the work that you do, because you have an absolute connection to it. It is part of your purpose. It gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a sense of why you are here on this planet, why you chose to be here, why you were chosen to be here. And that is this beautiful, beautiful connection that you have to your sense of purpose. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of a framework for your own personal development, for you to have a look at this and to see what might be tripping you up as a leader in your entrepreneurial endeavor, as a leader who has to lead yourselves, and as a leader that has to lead your clients through the sales process. And of course, the more energized you are, the more positive you are from an authentic place. We really pick it up when it's fake. From an authentic place, the more you are attractive to other people and they want to be in relationship with you. And so this is where we dump that old story and we cross over into a new reality that really does reflect the truthfulness of who you are as a person. Now, feeding from this is what I'm going to be sharing with you now, called the levels of consciousness. So I know it might feel a little bit strange that we're doing all of this personal work at the beginning of what's supposed to be a sales journey. But until we can really get ourselves sorted out and get ourselves coming from a high level of consciousness, we're going to find it very, very difficult. We're going to find life and business very, very difficult. So there are many levels of consciousness and there are many frameworks and models of consciousness, but I like to just work with these 4 levels of consciousness. And the first level, and it's called the 4 Fs, and the first level is where we feel flattened by life. And it's unlikely that any of you are in this space, but we do dip into it in certain moments of challenge. And that is where we feel completely flattened by life. There are many, many people that are experiencing this at the moment. They coming from a place of blame. You're blaming events and life. You feel unable to respond. You're just in reaction mode and you feel totally, totally overwhelmed. So if I have to use an analogy of a river, Life is a river that we are on. When you are in level 1 consciousness, you have taken your boat out of the river of life and you are in this desert. Even though there is a river that is right next to you, you find it very difficult to see and to find your way into that river. And when the next level of consciousness is the level 2, which is what I call fighting. And this is where most entrepreneurs hang out. We are hustling. We are on it. We are pushing ourselves in this world that we are living in. We're taking responsibility for our actions. But what we are doing here is we are coming at life with linear thinking. And that is, we set a goal for ourselves and we are going to break that goal down into a step-by-step process that we are going to follow from a linear perspective. And that means that there might even be times that the river of life is taking us in a different direction. But because we are so focused on this linear thinking and this logical thinking, we're not paying attention. And we sometimes then take our canoe or our boat, like this guy is here, and we drag it across sand dunes in order to reach these goals. And so we do reach our goals. But sure, it is flipping hard work when we are coming from this level of consciousness. And this is also where we are stuck in our 3-dimensional thinking, and we are continuously trying to change our physical world, our external world, in order to match the picture that we have about it. So now what I'm wanting to do is to invite you to consider the level 3 consciousness. And this is when we are in flow. And so this doesn't mean that we sit back and we don't do anything in life, but we are participating in life. We are very, very awake. We are not wrestling with life. We're not wrestling with ourselves. We're not hustling. We are bringing a flow consciousness to everything that we are doing. So whether we are developing something new in our business, we bring presence into that. We bring flow consciousness into that. We ride the wave of our own creativity. And what's absolutely fundamental to us moving from level 2 fighting into level 3 flow is that we have to give up control. And so for all of us that love control and love to know the steps, this is where we need to give up control. Because when you are in a wave, when you are in the river of life, if you think about we are standing on a ball of mud spinning around in this gigantic universe, we actually have no control. But we can participate. We can bring our energy and we can stay awake. And when you are in flow, amazing, amazing coincidences start to happen. I'll just give you one quick example from my life. I was busy coaching in a coffee shop, and this person overheard me coaching. She came up to me. She said to me, "You're the person I've been looking for. I want to work with you. How do I do that?" And we had a meeting and she signed up straight away. That is flow consciousness. It's when you get on an airplane and you start up a conversation with the person next to you, and instead of selling, one by one, which is fighting consciousness, they say to you, "Okay, I'm running this organization. I want to bring you on board." And now suddenly you sell, 50 of whatever it is that you are wanting to sell. And this is where we start to play with energy and rather be focused on who we are being. So this relates back to your values. Who are you being in the moment as opposed to who you are doing? And then the 4th level is where we experience absolute freedom. And we touch on this when we have those beautiful magic moments, often when we're in nature, where we experience unity. We experience ourselves as being multidimensional beings. We have an awareness that we're not just a physical being. We feel fearless and we feel absolutely free in this incredible moment that we are experiencing, and that can only happen in the moments of now. And it happens very rarely. Obviously, great masters live in that place, but we can touch into it. And so this is just a little model to help us to move from feeling flattened. When you want to move from flattened to fighting, you have to give up blame. When you want to move from fighting to flow, you have to give up control. And when you want to move from flow to freedom, you have to give up feeling an individual and as an individual, and experience yourself as part of. So I hope that helps you. The next element now, that is just, we've been doing this massive work on personal development, and we're now going to shift the focus from yourself onto your ideal client. And having done some of this personal work, hopefully it'll enable you to step into your client's world and to have an understanding of their psychographic. And the psychographic is really, what challenges are they facing at the moment? What are they feeling at the moment? What is keeping them awake at 3 a.m. that is driving them crazy? How are they feeling? What are these big fat problems that they are facing, that your offering is going to help them to overcome those challenges, to feel better about life? But when you understand the psychographic, then what that does is that it aids you in your communication, that you can speak directly to the heart of that client. So instead of speaking to them from a logical perspective, you're going to speak to them from a heart perspective, because our ideal clients, well, all of our clients, make decisions with their hearts and they justify with their minds. So this doesn't mean that you are not going to be bringing in some logic, you're going to be bringing in some stats. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be addressing that, but it's in your communication. They feel like you understand them. You have an understanding of their world and what it is that they are going through. Then the other element of this is the demographic, which is, who are they? What age are they? Where are they hanging out? When is the best time to contact them? And we unpack all of that in this niche assessment, which helps you to get a very, very clear snapshot of who your ideal client is. And then I'm not going to go and deep dive into too much around your messaging today, but what I want you to be thinking about is, what are your 3 words that really demonstrate the value of the outcome that your clients are going to experience as a result of working with you? So much like this wolf, you want to be communicating your 3 words. You want to be talking about them. You want to be putting your 3 words out there so that your clients get an understanding of what it is that they are going to experience as a result of working with you. And so here are my 3 words. It's purpose, passion, prosperity. And that is what my clients experience as a result of working with me. They connect to their purpose, it ignites their passion, and they launch their business in order for them to experience prosperity. So that is the first element of clarity in the Client Cultivator Blueprint. And I'm just going to start the conversation now in terms of canvassing, and I will unpack that in more depth in our next webinar, which is going to be happening on Wednesday in 2 weeks' time. But the very first element in terms of canvassing your clients is getting your positioning sorted out. So before you even start to canvass clients, these are the 5 steps, and please feel free to take a screenshot of this, that are going to allow you to position yourself as an expert humbly in front of your audience. So this is not an ego situation, but it's setting you up as a person that your client can trust. So the very first element of this is to gain positioning and credibility through transference. So are there professional associations you can belong to? Corporate CEOs that maybe you have done business with, if that is the area that you're working in. Premium clubs like I'm a member of the Circle of Excellence. Any influencer endorsements that are going to endorse your products, that are going to give you an element of credibility. And this is very, very useful if you are just starting out and you're needing to build some credibility with prospective clients. How do you build authority? You can become a best-selling author. It doesn't need to be a hardcover book. It can also just be an ebook or a PDF that you have created. Any industry awards that you have received, making sure that your professional titles and your qualifications are on your LinkedIn profiles across your digital platforms, and any scientific research and results that backs up the work that you do is very, very powerful in terms of building authority. Then you want to be able to give your clients some substance. And I recommend that you do this in a very physical way. So give them some samples of your work. It could be a hardcover coffee table book. It could be a beautiful corporate glass folder that you leave with your clients. If you are running events, etc., making sure that you've got your banners and your stands up and at those exhibits. Then from the perspective of credibility, it's having clarity in your messaging, which we've spoken a little bit about, clarity in your values, making sure you're communicating them, making sure you're visible, that you've got all your digital footprint is covered, and that you are consistently showing up so that your clients and prospective clients can get a sense of your energy and who you are. Then the fifth element is social proof. So making sure that you are showing your clients what you say is what you do. You really do walk your talk. If you say that you're a global business, showing that you have global reach. You can do this through sharing your business travel. If you're traveling, make sure that you checking in at the airport, sharing any public events that you are running or attending, much like these webinars. And if you have any media coverage, making sure that that is getting shared across those digital platforms. And this is also a very, very powerful tool for you to just run as an assessment for yourself and ask yourself how are you showing up in each of these areas, and maybe just choosing 2 or 3 elements of these 5 areas to address initially in order to start to position you as the trustworthy expert that your client can rely on. And all of these are going to help you to build the sustainable and prosperous and stable business that is going to enable you to flourish and to really make the impact that you wanted to make when you launched your business. So like I said, the Client Cultivator Blueprint I'm going to be diving into this over a range of webinars. It is the foundation for my Sales Brilliance program, which is launching in April, which I am thrilled about. It's a group coaching opportunity where we're going to deep dive and really build out at the end of it to have a sales strategy playbook for whoever chooses to come on that journey with me. And I really hope that today has given you some insights into some of the changes that you can make at a personal level, as well as gaining some clarity around your positioning and your messaging in order to take your business to the next level and to make the impact that you would like to make. So thank you so much for staying with me in this webinar. I'm going to hop back out of the presentation. And if any of you would like to get in touch with me, there's my email address. I'll also put it into the chat. But I would love to open up the floor now and answer any questions that you might have out of this blueprint that I've shared with you and out of some of these insights and elements that I've shared with you today.